Hi everyone, welcome back to Grab a Glass podcast. For those of you who don't know us already, my name's Hazel.
And my name's Lauren, and on today's episode we are discussing friendships.
Right, okay, so have you ever drifted from a friend before?
On multiple occasions, yeah. I think with that it's just one of those things where you don't have things in common anymore.
Yeah.
Or it's that you don't always necessarily agree with some things that person says or does. And it doesn't make them a bad person. Like, you can't villainize somebody just for, like, not wanting to be the friend anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things with age, you kind of, like, just decide that you don't want to be around that person anymore, or sometimes you just drift apart and there's nothing to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think your life takes you in different directions, doesn't it? I think, people have different paths. They have a different map for where they're going to end up. And I think it's rare that those maps ever cross. I think, things happen with time. People, like what you said, people drift. And I think that just makes you realise that it sounds awful, but were they ever a friend in the first instance?
Well, I don't know, because sometimes things can, like, get in the way, can't they? I mean, people get on with their lives quicker than other people. They'll settle down and have kids before everybody else, or they'll get a job and move away, and it's just different things, different instances in which you don't even just not seeing each other anymore. It might not even necessarily be that you don't talk anymore.
It makes it more awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just that distance.
Yeah, creates a void.
So, what would you say about the statement that each friendship doesn't have to be ride or die?
I agree with it. I mean, you have acquaintances, you have people that you're close with, you have, people that you can trust, but I think everyone has that one person who is their ride or die.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But not everything has to be like that. I mean, you can have, acquaintances that, you're friendly with, you get along with. And I think that just keeps a lot of people ticking over, because you don't necessarily have to have, 64 people that you'd kill for, or do you know what I mean?
I think it's about the quality over quantity as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, one really good friend is all you need.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think a thing with a lot of people as well is expectations. Like, a friendship shouldn't have to come with terms and conditions. You shouldn't have to feel obliged to do things for people and expect things in return. It shouldn't be like
you should have a crib sheet for it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like a transactional relationship in a sense. It should be something that flows, something that's natural, someone that you enjoy being around, spending time with.
Yeah, definitely.
If the only calls you're getting is someone going, "Hiya, can you come and help me, do this and do that?" I mean, that's fine, but if that's all the contact you get and they only use you when they want you, it's not really a friendship, is it?
No, it's just more of a barter transaction, isn't it? You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and that's how life goes on. But I think you're absolutely right with that. It is quality over quantity. I mean, I'd personally rather have, one nice friend.
One nice friend. Yeah.
So earlier friendships. What do you think about this? Earlier friendships often fade quicker.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, in some instances, you do have that one person that you connect with that you don't really lose touch with that much. But then, generally, in most cases, the older you get, it's kind of like you mature. It's like you're stepping into this whole new version of yourself. And the people that you used to surround yourself with, you don't have the same values as them anymore. It's kind of... I don't really know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's like, from personal experience, I had quite a big friend group when I was in primary school, and when I was in high school, we were all really close, proper girls. And then when we went to college, we all got split up, went to different schools, and then both never spoke again. It was kind of like, that was like, the shutter door came down and the keys got dropped in the drain.
Yeah.
And I think that just happened because we weren't with each other 24/7.
Yeah.
We weren't, like when you're in high school, you walk to school, you sit down before your lessons, you go and meet them for lunch and whatnot, and that never happened. The routine, the cycle broke.
Yeah.
And I think when that breaks, it's hardest to get it back, because it's like you're scrambling for things that you think you've still got in common. Like, I think it just makes it a lot more awkward and a lot harder to kind of rebuild what's been lost.
Yeah, I mean, I again can speak from personal experience. I think there's only one person that I speak to from high school still.
Yeah.
And from primary school, I don't. From college, I don't think so. Not that I can think of anyway. But but you make new friends, you move on, and you get out into the big bad world, and you find other people that share your interests, that share your mindset. And I think that's when life gets a bit more beautiful. It's when you find essentially your people.
Yeah, because I think when you're in, especially school, it's kind of like you're forced to make friends as quick as you can, because you don't want to go through school without friends. It's the most important thing. But I think once, if like, when you do drift, you find who you are, and you then gravitate towards people who fit your niche, who have the same likes. And it's very rare that stays with you from point of primary school, point of high school even, to, point of work, point of adult life. I think it's very hard to be able to bring that through. I mean, it might not be hard for some people, but I think majoritively, on the scale, it's difficult to be able to carry something from birth to where you are now.
Yeah. Okay, so outgrowing people but still wanting the best for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can agree on that.
We can agree, can't we? I mean, I think, everyone in today's day and age has social media. We have Facebook, Instagram that we still follow people on, and we sort of like watch from a distance, don't we?
Yeah, it's sort of like observing through like glass in it, sort of like you know at the aquarium when you're watching the fish go by, you like tap on the glass. It feels like that, doesn't it?
It does,
sort of.
And the some fish look at you, some fish just ignore you and bugger off.
They always ignore me.
Do they?
They always just.
I try and talk to them.
I do that.
Yeah.
I do that at the pet shop as well. You know when me and you go to a pet shop and we'd sat there with the not squirrels, what they called hamsters.
Yeah.
I love doing that. Anyway,
I've named every single hamster in Pets at Home.
Anyway,
but I think we all like to check in. We're all nosy. Everyone wants to know what's going on. But I think, like, it popped up on my Instagram the other day. One of my old friends from high school. She just got a new career, and it was like a little post, like a little 25 recap.
Yeah.
And it was like new career, new relationship. Like everything happened for her, and I was made up. I thought, do you know what? I am so glad that you've achieved that. You've got to a point where you've successfully like found who you are and got to a point where you are. And I was buzzing for her.
But it does get like that though. I mean, even when you don't like stay in touch with someone or have them on social media, you still find yourself thinking about them. And just because you've outgrown them and you don't want them to be a part of your life anymore doesn't mean that you hate them. It doesn't mean that you wish them any wrongdoing. It just means that you just don't want to be around them anymore, but in a nice way. But you still think, I wonder how they're doing. I wonder how that plan turned out. I mean, think about high school. You all talk about what you want to do in the future.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And you kind of find yourself thinking, I wonder if she ever did that. I mean, I had a mate that wanted to be a singer, and I still, to this day, I don't ever want to search for her, but I wish her the best in life. And I still think, I wonder if she actually did make it.
Yeah.
Oh. I know.
This is such a cute episode, isn't it?
I know. So wholesome.
Okay, so do you think there is a way to differentiate between missing someone or missing the old version of yourself?
I think it's hard because sometimes, I mean, I think we've all done it at some point. You think, oh, you know, I really miss that person. I miss that time in my life. But it's kind of, most of the time, 90% of the time, it will be that you just miss the old version of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think about old friendships and I think, okay, well, yeah, I really miss her actually. And then I go, no, I don't. No, I don't. Because everything is the way that it is because you've decided it to be that way. That you don't want to be involved with that person anymore. I don't know, it's hard, but I think you just kind of have to think to yourself, well, is it just that I actually miss who I once was?
Yeah, because we all grow, don't we? We all,
Yeah.
you know, we all mature, we all go in different paths over time. And I think we pick up people at different points in our life. You know, you have a set friendship group when you're in nursery, when you're in primary school, when you're in high school. You have different friendship groups that grow, evolve, shrink, change, you know, move on. So I think it's very difficult to, like, if you do think back and realise, and just think back and, you know, kind of think to yourself, you know, do I actually miss this person? Like, should I reach out to them for a coffee?
Or if they reached out to me, would I actually respond?
Like, how would I feel if they reached out to me? Would I have to sit there and contemplate it, or would I just jump at the answer?
I mean, there's been a couple of people that have sort of like tried to get back in contact with me, and I've entertained it because I don't ever want to be like horrible.
No, straight up no.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see you again. Go away. But I don't ever want to do that. So I kind of like, yeah, I'm good. How have you been? But it never really goes further than that.
Yeah, it's always kind of like a check and like a friendly check-in, isn't it?
Yeah, like, how are you doing? Have you still got a pulse? You know.
Yeah.
Just a nice little, friendly little chat.
Yeah.
But, you know, there was someone that asked me a few months ago if I wanted to do something, and it was like, thanks for asking, but no.
No, I'm busy on Tuesday. I'm washing my hair.
Yeah. But I was like, no, but, you know, it's okay if we still stay in touch, but, you know, I don't think I really want to do anything. You know, life's a bit hectic at the minute. You know, it's kind of one of those things you just have to, like...
You want to focus on you and just not go back in time.
Yeah, put yourself first. You know, if it ended for a reason, then remember that reason.
Totally.
Yeah. So, growing as a person, but not being entirely closed off to one person.
Well, I think it's like what you said, you know, it's just about checking in, you know, making sure that they're okay, they've still got a pulse and whatnot, like, you know, just seeing how they're getting on. But I think you can also do that from the background rather than, you know, directly messaging someone or reaching out, because I, for one, love a little doom scroll on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it always comes up, you know, suggested you may know this person from X or from school or work or, you know, so it gives you suggestions. And I think, you know, just, it's perfectly normal to check in. It's perfectly normal to want to keep, you know, just to see how they are rather than, you know, reaching out if you don't feel like you can reach out. Like, I don't feel like I can personally reach out to, you know, my old high school friends because it's like, why poke a dead horse? You've drifted for a reason. There's obviously a reason why they haven't reached out to you.
I think the way that I see it is sort of leaving the door unlocked but not waiting by the door.
Yeah.
So not necessarily holding out hope and waiting for that person to contact you.
Yeah.
And getting on with your own life. But if they reach out, like we discussed before, you don't have to shut it down. You shouldn't feel the need to shut it down straight away.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, if you feel disrespected or overridden, how can you place boundaries?
I think the easiest solution is to have that conversation with somebody. If it's something that can be easily solved or something that you can discuss and work through, then you should do that. But if not, I think one of the main ways that I've coped with that is taking a step back and having a little bit of distance between us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had a friend when I was younger, we're talking like over 10 years now, who was a little bit overbearing. She didn't really understand that I was allowed to have a life outside of her. And there was a few occasions where she was very overbearing. You know, she would contact my other friends, or she, even on one occasion, showed up outside my house.
Oh God, there was one time where she called me when I was
Did she?
out with you.
I don't remember that. Oh, while I was with you?
Yeah, we were shopping.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you didn't answer the phone, and I had 2 missed calls.
Anyway, needless to say, we don't mean to discredit anyone or be mean to anyone, by the way, but it's just a personal experience. But yeah, I think with that, I kind of, in the end, I just kind of dodged her. I just kind of ignored her calls, ignored her texts, and I just kind of essentially cut her out of my life. But then there was a period after that we actually did become friends again. And I said, okay, but this is what I don't want you to do.
This is what needs to change.
Yeah, if you want me to be in your life, that's fine, and I'm always here for you. But things need to change. You can't treat me like that. You can't expect me to be at your essentially beck and call.
So you then set the agenda for her.
Yeah, and I think it's it's difficult, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. If you feel like your boundaries aren't being respected, or there are no boundaries in place, and you feel as though you're being overridden,
yeah,
you need to have that conversation.
I think it's all about signposting and communication between people. Like we've all had similar experience like that. I know I had one personally, which is very similar to yours. You know, relentless calls, texts, and it was kind of, it makes you feel guilty. It makes you feel like you don't have a choice. It's kind of, you know, emotional blackmail in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're having to choose. You know, you can't just orbit one person.
No.
So I think it is all about setting the agenda and just saying, right, this is what it is. This is what's irritating me and annoying me, and you know, this is why this is what's led me to have this conversation, and just lay everything out on the table. And I think, you know, what you were saying about completely going cold turkey, and just, you know, cutting them out. I think if that was me, I'd probably think, well, hang on, what have I done? So I think that does work, because it makes them think, well, what have I done wrong? What have I done that's, you know, set this off? Like, is there a reason? But I think it can also help a situation, because you need to give someone breathing space.
Yeah, I mean, it can, and it also can't, because I sort of essentially had that happen to me once, where I just lost touch with somebody. Well, it wasn't losing touch, it was that they just didn't want to know me anymore, but they didn't communicate that, so they essentially did what I did to her. So karma, I guess. But anyway, and I was kind of thinking, well, what have I done wrong? Well, what's wrong with me? And it didn't become like, well, what did I do? What can I do better? It became, well, what's wrong with me? So I think sometimes that can be quite damaging, and sometimes it is better if you feel that you can. It's always best to communicate those feelings first before acting.
Yeah.
So drifting apart, but knowing that schedules can make it hard to stay in touch.
So true. There is one thing I can think of that comes to mind. So I was working in retail at the time, and I'd just come off a night shift.
Yeah.
And I was meant to meet a friend for coffee the next day. And I forgot to communicate that I'd got back at 5 o'clock in the morning and just went to bed, and I was dead to the world.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened to a few people, and it's not just me, but I felt horrible. And I think, obviously, if, you know, work didn't come into account, then totally fine, would have gone for coffee, would have had a bit of a catch up. But because I hadn't told her, you know, it just made things complicated. And then I felt awful afterwards. And then you sort of have to kind of like backtrack and grovel. And then, you know, it makes you think, you know, I've made a mistake. I've held my hands up for it. Let's call it a day.
Yeah.
You know, but I think interlinking schedules with meeting friends, or, you know, it can be very difficult. So it's, unfortunately, it is one of those, and I do profusely hold my hands up for that.
Yeah.
It was horrible at that, but that's on me.
Mm.
But I owned that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm awfully sorry. This is why I am late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you accepted the accountability, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's something that we can't help but feel guilty for. You know, if someone messages you and they go, "Oh, are you free on Tuesday?" "Oh, no, I'm not." "When are you next free?" "Oh, Friday." "Oh, I can't do Friday because I'm working." "When are you next free after that?" And it's that cycle, but you feel guilty for it, but you can't afford to, because you can't help it. It's one of those things where you have your own things going on, you have your own priorities, and friendships aren't always necessarily going to be your number one priority.
Yeah.
And it's that thing again that you said before about not letting, what was it, not letting one person orbit, not letting yourself orbit one person, something like that. Yeah. You know, as long as you communicate and as long as you are entirely honest to the best of your ability and you try everything that you can't hold yourself accountable for something that isn't your fault. You know, as long as you are communicating enough, and it's just one of those things, and you can't afford to feel guilty for it.
No. Okay, so how can you let go without placing blame?
I think it's important to understand that it doesn't always have to be someone's fault that the friendship has ended. You know, it's this kind of it's the kind of like drifting without drama kind of thing. Like, it doesn't always have to be a massive explosive thing.
I love that, drifting without drama.
I know, it's good, isn't it? It's like, you know, you just drift apart. It's you can't place blame. You can't say, okay, well, I don't speak to her anymore because she did this one thing 10 years ago. It's like, we have our own lives, and sometimes priorities are higher than that. And sometimes it's hard to accept. It depends which side of it you're on. If somebody has lost contact with you, then that probably isn't their fault. It's just that life's got in the way. And I think it's important to think, okay, well, it's not my fault. You know, you don't have to blame them. You don't have to blame yourself. Just learn to let go, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But I think a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people hold grudges, which it is normal. It is natural to hold a grudge. But I think, you know, for something that happened 5-10 years ago, it's not serving you, it's not serving them, it's just taking space up in your mind that it doesn't need to be there. I mean, people, it's like that saying, you can forgive but never forget.
Yeah.
Which I think is very true, but, you know, it's something that you just need to go with the wind. You know, see where it takes you and see what happens, because, you know, life takes you in different directions. Everyone has different blueprints. And I think, you know, if you can, you know, learn to move on and learn to forgive, it takes time, don't get me wrong. It does take time, energy, and, you know, consciousness that you know, you need to, you know, grieve in your own space, don't you, in your own time. But I think there's no need to poke a dead horse. What's done is done.
Yeah, it's kind of that whole thing of, you know, just coming to terms with things. I mean, sometimes it helps if you kind of like, well, I don't know, I think this is more from personal experience. If you are on the receiving end of a friendship breakup, it can be easier sometimes to process it as sort of like a romantic breakup. Like, okay, well, that's ended now, but let's think fondly of the memories. Let's think about what we had and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what it needs to be. You know, it's not everything is doom and gloom. Like, obviously, you know, some breakups are nastier than others. But I think, you know, it's not. It's like going to bed without blowing the candles out. You don't want anything to linger. You don't want to have, you know, you try not to look at things from a negative point of view, because that takes up so much energy. And it takes so much, you know, you revolve around that then. It then becomes who you are. So learning to forgive and forget, well, forgive and move on, is the best way forwards, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so the statement, learning to be a better friend.
I think we are all constantly learning, we're all constantly picking up new things, we're all constantly, trying to change and better ourselves. And I think everything is communication. Communication is key, and communicating things in the correct way is key.
Mm-hmm.
I think, trying to better a friendship is trying to better ourselves.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, because once we know how to approach things, once we know how to, take things on board, take feedback, rather than, being completely closed off and shutting things down from the get-go, I think it is all communication. Once we can do that, fine, we can all grow, we can all change, and we can all accept change as well.
I think it's also about navigating yourself and who you are as a person. And if you're constantly having arguments in a friendship, likelihood is it's probably not going to last. And if you are majoritively the cause of that, then working on yourself is key. It's kind of like coming to terms with the fact that you're not perfect, kind of thing. Like, this sort of links back to the last episode, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Not everyone is going to be the ideal friend, not everyone is going to be the ideal person, whatever that may be. But it's just about doing your best. And if you can't meet up with that person, like you were saying previously, if you can't commit to a plan, communicate that. If you have a problem with something that they've done, communicate that. It's about it should be equal in a friendship, really, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be like one person making all the effort. So if there's ever a disagreement or anything, then it needs to be that you take a step back and think, okay, could I have handled that better?
1,000,000%. It is just down to that. Every problem stems from a lack of communication. Everything is all interlinked with that. And I think once you can kind of get to terms with, open communication is key, then that's basically every problem solved. Because, you can have rows, you can have disagreements, but it all gets solved by talking, doesn't it? So it must link from not talking enough or not, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, communication is key, is the moral of that, really, isn't
Literally,
it? Yeah.
So how would you adjust to life without all your old friends?
I think the easiest thing to do is surround yourself with people that you know love you and that care about your well-being. And sometimes, in my experience anyway, it is, like I said earlier, easier to process it as a breakup, as a romantic breakup.
Yeah.
Because essentially it is, but it isn't. You're losing a big part of your life. If it's someone that you spoke to quite a lot, it's about adjusting to life without them, the way that they used to
look after you and be there for you.
Yeah.
I think not only, surrounding yourself with new people, but new activities, learning to love yourself for who you are and learn how to love your own company. Because I, for one, used to be, when I was younger, I used to always have to have a group, always have to have someone with me. Couldn't walk to lesson without someone, couldn't walk to lunch without someone, couldn't, walk into school without someone. But I think once you detach yourself from those people, it becomes harder but easier. Me personally, when I left high school, I split from my friend group. So I had to adjust to life without them. I'm starting college, it's a new scary chapter for me, don't know anyone, you're going to feel anxious and nervous, but I think I got thrown into the deep end. But if you're noticing a friendship naturally fading, you don't really speak to them as much, but you're still amicable, you're still on talking terms and whatnot, and I think it's a little bit easier to pick up the signals. But what I started doing is I took myself out for meals, I took myself for a walk, I went to the gym on my own, I went to the movies on my own, and it's kind of weird doing that, because people used to say to me, well, do you not get lonely? Do you not get do you not feel anxious, or do you feel like people are looking at you because you're going for a meal on your own? I said, no, because what I can do is I can go for a walk, go for a drive, stick some music on, go into a restaurant, sit down, order me food, and just romanticize my life a little bit. So it's learning to be okay on your own. It takes time, but it's so doable.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's one of the hardest things in life is navigating things by yourself. I mean, the way I see it is, and this might sound a bit morbid, we're born alone and we'll die alone, essentially.
But you are, though.
Yeah, the only person you can ever really rely on is yourself, to a certain extent. So if you love your own company, if you can be entirely independent, well, not entirely independent, but if you can do things like that by yourself, if you can like learn to love yourself, essentially, it makes it easier to move on without them. Yeah. And if you go out and socialise and meet new people and do things that you wanted to do, you might meet your future best man or your future maid of honour. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's this freeing opportunity, essentially, to discover who you actually are.
It's a fresh start, isn't it?
Yeah, discover who you are without them. Sometimes, I mean, I'm guilty of this, actually, thinking about it. You morph yourself into their personalities sometimes. I mean, like me and you, we've sort of picked up each other's
mannerisms,
accents.
yeah.
Mannerisms as well, do I?
Yeah.
Have I? Oh,
yeah.
Dear. Oh, yeah, I do that quite a bit.
And I go, right,
yeah. Yeah. But I forgot where I was up to now, but I think it's just about learning.
It's learning to love yourself. It's learning to be okay loving yourself. That's the whole moral of this point, is to put yourself first. To move on without them is to grow. Yeah. And love yourself. So for those of you who don't know, of those of you who have made it this far, we have a glass moment at the end of our video where we take a section from today's discussion which has left the biggest impact on us. So my glass moment was learning to love myself is okay and communication is key. What was yours?
Mine was coming to terms with the fact that it's okay to move on without feeling guilty.
So we want your feedback, your comments and your experiences. Comment below if you've ever had a similar experience to what we talked about today, and let us know how you coped with it.
Well, our glasses are empty, so we'll see you next time on Grab a Glass.